The state of the nation's labor market in focus this week. And right now we have the exclusive results of the CNBC All-America Workforce Survey. Steve Leisman joins us now with some of the key findings. Good morning, Steve.
Hey, good morning, Mike. Yeah, the new CNBC All-America Workforce Survey finds American workers generally comfortable and satisfied with their jobs, their pay, and recent raises despite high inflation. Yet they harbor pretty deep concerns about the economic outlook for the nation and worry about their own financial well-being. This survey uniquely looked at 1,200 employed people, 400 people not in the workforce but yet not retired, and then another 450 people who retired during the pandemic in an effort to understand changes from the job market brought on by the pandemic. Here are some of the results. Among the employed, 69% are satisfied with their current wages, 31% not. 80% are satisfied with their recent raises, while just 20% are not. So maybe 1 in 5 of your employees out there is having a little difficulty. 40% of those who got raises said their salary went up by 5% or more in the past year. Those raises, keeping people in place, could be leading to some stability in the job market. Those actively seeking jobs, just 18%. 82% say they're not actively seeking one, although some said if one came along, they'd take it. Even though 61% said they could find a similar job easily at another company if they were out there looking. 39% said not. But that job satisfaction doesn't carry over into the economy, where there are high levels of concern. Take a look here. The economy, 49% saying the economy will get worse among those who are employed. 54% of those not working said so, and 60% of those who retired during the pandemic are not optimistic about the outlook for the economy. 83% are saying they're worried about a recession. 74% say, hey, I'm worried about my wages not keeping pace with inflation. There's concern about a COVID surge, less concern about a pay cut, less concern about being laid off from a job, but 44% are worried about that. If there is some stability in the workforce, that could be good news for inflation eventually. At 10 a.m., we'll be talking about the large percentage of Americans who switched jobs and companies during the pandemic in what we call the Great Reshuffle, not the Great Resignation, the Great Reshuffle. Next week, we'll show data on the critical question of whether those who have left the workforce will be coming back. And of course, Mike, coming up, we have ADP at 8:15, jobless claims at 8:30, and the jobs report tomorrow.
That's right. And Steve, that survey really does capture, I guess, the state of what the Fed is looking at here, right? With a very tight labor market, perceptions that there's plentiful jobs out there, wage growth is okay, and so that's not the concern. But people are very gloomy almost exclusively because of what's happening with inflation.
With inflation, I think there's still some pandemic concern out there. But you're right, Mike. That is the key right there. When I look at it, 83% concerned about inflation, but 80% happy with their raises. So it's an interesting dichotomy, an interesting contradiction. We've seen other surveys, Mike, where we ask people, how are you doing? And they say financially okay. Then we ask them, how's the nation doing? And they say financially very badly. So there's this contrast out there among people. What I like about this in terms of the outlook is perhaps we're getting close where we've reached the right level of wages, the right level of raises, so that there's A, some stability in the workforce, and B, not this ever increasing number or percentage of wage increases that could drive inflation.